I'm Kim Berry from KUVO, music director and midday host from 1 to 4. And I have the honor of speaking with guitarist and composer, educator extraordinaire Bobby Broom. He is going to be at Dazzle on Sunday, March 1st, with shows at 4 and 5:30 p.m. Welcome.
Thank
Good to see
you.
you
Great to
again.
see you again.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
just thinking, how you've recorded and performed in so many different settings, but it seems like the organ trio is very close to your heart. Can you tell us about like some of the great organists who influenced you and how you got into the whole organ trio genre?
Yeah. The very first jazz that I became attracted to and obsessed with really when I was 10
Mm.
was Charles Earland's Black Talk.
Oh my God, the Mighty
With
Burner.
Yes, with Age of Aquarius and More Today Than Yesterday. And it
Mm-hmm.
was because of those songs that I was attracted to the record. My dad brought it home from the barber shop
Mm-hmm.
one
I
evening
love it.
with a stack of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
with a stack of records. And I looked at it, had that sepia color, the
Mm-hmm.
cover,
Yeah.
and something about it attracted me. So I turned it over. What is this? Saw those tunes and just immediately took it to my room. And I had never heard anything like that before, and nor did I know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know jazz from a
Mm-hmm.
hole in the wall. I didn't know the word,
Yeah.
but something about the way that he interpreted and performed that music was captivating. I used to play that record every day
Yeah.
on repeat,
Don't forget
and
the
I
Mighty
this is
Burner
before I
too.
started playing the guitar.
Yeah, the Mighty
Yeah,
Burner. Um,
yeah.
so that was such a great record because they had Houston person Melvin Sparks.
Melvin Sparks and Virgil Jones
Yeah,
and Idris Muhammad, who I wound
yeah.
up. So the cool thing, though, to fast forward was that years later, so maybe 10, because 10 or 15, 15, about 15 years later, because
Hmm.
when I was in my mid to late 20s and had moved to Chicago, and I hear a rumor, oh, Charles Earland he moved to Chicago and he's putting a band together. And so I said, there is no way in the world that that is happening, and I'm not going to play with him.
Yes, indeed. No.
He was too close to
Hmm.
me. I had spent too much time with his music, and it was just and so I went, found him, and auditioned, air quotes, and I was in the band. We made two records together and
Hmm.
played, toured together, and yeah,
He was a
so
sweet.
that was a big triumph, organ wise.
Well, he's from Philly, and he's
Yeah,
just such a sweetheart of a man. We loved him, and
yeah,
he was always coming to
yeah,
Philly for an organ jam or something and whatnot. Um,
yeah.
and then, he was kind of gone for a minute, and then he came back in like I think the late '80s, early '90s when he was
Early
with
night. That was when
when
late
you play with
'80s.
him
That
when
was
he
when
was
I came.
with
Yeah, Front Burner, Third Degree
yeah.
Burn were the two records. His comeback records after he went on sabbatical because he lost his wife, I
Hmm.
think it was,
Yeah.
to sickle cell, and he took years off, and then a guy got him to move to Chicago, a manager,
Hmm.
and encouraged him and got him a bunch of gigs and show. We were working 7 nights a week,
Oh
and I
my
kid you
goodness.
not, 7 nights a week for about 3 or 4 months. And I'm not making this up. This is
No.
not an exaggeration.
Hmm.
It was 7 nights a week. I remember I was in school, I was teaching, and I
Oh
was
no.
doing that. I was in my 20s, so it was
Yeah.
cool, but
That's a
it
lot.
was nuts.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a work study, like I wouldn't say on the job training, but it's like
Absolutely.
the
Oh,
best
yeah.
work study gig you could hope for. Like I said,
Absolutely.
with him, he was just such a sweetheart of a man.
Yeah.
And then you went from there. I mean, my goodness, what organist didn't you play with? You were with Charles Earland, Jimmy McGriff, Dr. Lonnie Smith, Melvin Ryan, who also, did you think
Mhm.
about this? Recorded with Wes Montgomery. Were you thinking
Yeah, I
about that
know.
when you?
I did think about that. Absolutely. Sure, sure. I sure did. And I played one time with Jimmy Smith.
Oh, what a character.
So that, oh yeah, and that was about all I could take.
That's all we can say, but he was a
Yeah,
strong
we
trip.
love him, but so yeah, that organ tradition is big for, a certain strain of jazz guitar, the kind that I
It
like
is.
and play.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's very meaningful part of my career. Yeah.
So you were born and raised in Harlem, New York, and you're in Chicago now. How did you make that move?
Well, I was born in Harlem, lived there for I just went and took my son to New York. We did a little weekend trip,
Oh, that's
went to
cool.
see the Knicks, and I took him everywhere. We went to 135th and Lenox, where I was first, grew up, and
Hmm.
then we moved to the Upper West Side when I was about 8 or 9, and spent the rest of the time there and started my career there. And then just, life and love and life. And I went to, I felt at that point that I needed to go back to school. And good thing I did,
Hmm.
because, every step makes a difference. So I moved to Chicago to pursue couple of things, one of which was my undergrad degree.
Hmm.
And so I just wound up staying there, getting on airplanes when they wanted me to go on the road, which fortunately kept happening.
That's
I kept
beautiful.
recording. Well, not so much recording, but yeah, actually very little recording for a long time. But I
Hmm.
kept playing, performing, and, getting called by these master musicians to play guitar for them.
Hmm.
So thank goodness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was surprised Broski was hip to you. Well, I shouldn't say that, but it was just nice seeing you show up on Blues at Bradley's. Like,
That's the
wow,
thing about
you know.
this music, about jazz music, is that it's a community, and we
Hmm.
support each other, and we know who we are,
Hmm.
and we're listening to each other. And I got so much support from my fellows in this business,
Hmm.
elders and contemporaries at various points.
Hmm.
And these are things that happen. You don't know who's listening to what you do, or who knows who,
Hmm.
you just don't know. You know a little bit more now because of the internet, but so I was just in Boston last week before last, and ran into Terry on Gully, the great drummer, in
Hmm.
the hotel.
Oh yeah.
And we hugged and dapped each other up, and I said something, and then I thought maybe he didn't even know he may not have known who I was. So
I
I
don't
got
think
his
so.
I got his number. I got his number from pianist in Atlanta that I'm about to work with.
Hmm.
And I texted him, and I said, "Man, I thought maybe you didn't, And he said, "Yeah, I know you."
Hmm.
It was funny though.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we're all kind of paying attention.
that's true. Now, how has the Chicago, man, that's a heck of a town to be in, not only with jazz, but how, in terms of Chicago jazz and blues tradition, how has that shaped or influenced you?
Well, honestly, I cannot say that the blues tradition that migrated there from
Hmm.
the South. I
Oh, yeah.
cannot say that it had a direct impact, maybe an indirect one, but I don't think so, really.
Hmm.
I think that any blues inclination that I have came from American culture,
Hmm.
and it's such a part of the musical fabric and the culture generally in Black music. But it's the foundation, like
Hmm.
the blues and jazz, those are the
Hmm.
foundation. So these things I glean through osmosis, and not not necessarily having anything to do with Chicago. I'd say that more than anything, that if I developed in any way as a, with some blues proclivities any more than I had naturally, it was from working with Dr. John
Mm-hmm.
and those New Orleans
Oh
folks
yeah.
and playing with Chris Foreman in the
Mm-hmm.
Deep Blue Organ Trio.
Yeah.
We had many, many down home conversations in that band.
Who are some of the guitars that influence you? Because when I listen to you, sometimes you can say, "Oh yeah, he's straight out of West Montgomery, he's straight out of Grand Green or whatever," but I can't really hear
Well,
anything
that's
but you.
good. Okay, no, that's good. That's good. I was hoping you would. Well, it's an amalgamation of everybody. Really.
Mhm.
My guys, though, the first one, the one that made me do this was George Benson.
Oh yeah.
I was searching for someone to maybe I was looking for a model for the type of music that attracted me to jazz. But really was not even into jazz as a
Mhm.
style or something to pursue, even after the Charles Earland experience, which
Mhm.
was so impactful in my life. But it had to come around where I became aware of what the heck it was that happened, what I was listening to.
Mhm.
So, after that, 12, 13, 14, when I started playing the guitar, I wasn't trying to hear anything about jazz other than what my teacher was trying to do
Mhm.
on Saturdays. Now he
Wow.
would say, "You got to listen to Wes Montgomery. You got to listen." He would say it every week, and I would go, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay," and go home and put on my records: Tower Power, Cool and the Gang, Earth, Wind and
Mhm.
Fire.
Oh
Listen to the
yeah.
radio,
Yeah.
never thinking about. And then I heard Herbie Hancock and Grover Washington Jr. Those
Mhm.
two hits back then.
Mhm.
And I said, oh,
Yeah.
okay, maybe. So I went to the record store and asked, who does anybody play the guitar like these guys do? And he turned around with Bad Benson, and that
That's
was
a
it.
great record, yeah.
That was it.
And
That was
we're basically the same age. I think you're a few months older than me. And I
uh-huh.
remember when Breezing came out, everybody, even like my mother brought me an acoustic guitar. First, I have a lot of respect for guitars because that is one of the hardest instruments. I
It's
could
a
not get
it's
through
a,
camp town races in my guitar class. Okay, that's number one. Okay. Number two, at the high school I went to, I wasn't in band, but I was taking guitar lessons. And the
mhm.
guy who was, because I'm from Detroit, Michigan, the guy who was
Okay.
the band leader had Earl Klugh visit us. I
Oh,
said, Hank, never mind. I was
great.
just like,
Yeah,
no.
that'll make you
Whew.
quit.
But I mean, and he was playing an acoustic guitar too. I mean,
Yes,
that's beautiful.
yes. He was a big, yeah, he was a big inspiration to me, because there weren't, like I said, I wasn't that jazz savvy and knowledgeable, really. I mean, I was learning.
Mhm.
So when I heard George, then I started the search. Like,
Mhm.
what is this? What is this music? Where does it come from? What's the story? So then I learned about Miles and Charlie Parker and Sonny Rollins and Train, and went on the quest. Um, but I was still at heart, I loved funk and R&B and
Mhm.
soul, and was into. So when Earl Klugh popped up, that was right up my alley. I loved him.
Mhm.
Anybody that could blend it and really play jazz the way I was starting to hear it
Mhm.
at that time.
Yeah,
So
people like.
my big three were George,
Mhm.
Wes. I finally got to Wes because I read the interviews and he said Wes Montgomery, and then I
Mhm.
heard Wes and was like, duh.
Mhm.
And Pat Martino was a heavyweight.
Oh man,
That's
I loved
right,
him so much.
right, yeah.
Philadelphia represents South Philly. He was a beautiful
Oh,
soul.
so I heard Sonny, and that was it.
Mhm.
So that live
Yeah.
15-minute track.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pat.
that
Oh
was it.
man, he was he.
Yeah.
Oh man, he was a beautiful soul. You know.
Yes. I took a few lessons with him too. He was living in New York
Okay.
on Jane Street in the Village, and I met a guy in the music store. We used to go down to the music store on Saturday
Mhm.
afternoons, and just to play guitars, And I met
Mm-hmm.
the guy was standing there, another 15-year-old next to me playing. You want to play Breezing? And then, yeah, you sound good. Yeah, you sound good. He's like, yeah. When we talked, he said, I take lessons with Pat Martino. I'm like, what? So I got Pat's number. I took about 5 lessons with him.
And
It was way over my head at the time.
no, but the beauty of Pat is, of course, him having that brain aneurysm and having to learn how to play over again and sounding better than he did before he got sick.
Yeah, yeah, like sound just like himself and then better, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you've recently, it seems like you kind of come full circle in a way. First, let me tell you about that record that you did with the Chicago Jazz Orchestra, More and More for West Montgomery. That was so beautiful. That was in my top 50 of last year. It was just beautiful.
Thank you. Such a
Um,
dream come true.
oh, no doubt. Um,
So many ways. Yeah.
and now we're playing the devil out of the new release that you're with Ben Patterson. I'm sorry, and his
Yeah.
trio.
Oh, good.
We're
Oh,
playing that
good.
Live at was it
At the Jazz
Jazz
Showcase.
Showcase? Yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah. In fact, I
Good.
played that today. What did I play? Yardbird Suite. We're
Uh
playing a
huh.
lot of it, but
Good. Great.
I mean, do you
Great.
see doing like an organ type release in the future or?
Yeah, well, the last one I did was a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
or was it last year? The Jam-A-Lot, the live one
Yeah, I
with
remember that
with
one.
Ben.
Hmm.
So right, so Ben is, we did the Bobby Broom organization, which came about at the behest of Steely Dan, because we had
Wow,
opened for them with the Deep Blue Organ Trio, and then
wow.
that group broke up. So they wanted me to go out, and I said, well, I can't because I don't have an organ group right now. And I was admonished by Micaiah McCraven to put something together. Like, dude, you got to figure this out. So, so we put that together and made we made a studio record and
Hmm.
then did the live one. So that's still in the works. But now the next thing I'm going to do which is coming out in May,
Hmm.
is a tribute to Sonny Rollins. I had to say thank you to
Hmm.
him. Yeah, yeah. So that's called Notes of Thanks. And that's with the Bobby Broom Trio. And we have not recorded in 12
Oh
years.
wow, okay.
So yeah, yeah. So it's time. And then Kobe Watkins, my drummer for 25 years,
Hmm.
was Sonny's last drummer for this last
Wow.
6 years of Sonny's performing. Kobe played with him.
Hmm.
So, there's a lot of subplots, and not the least of which is that I wanted to extend my gratitude to him this way.
Yeah. How in the world did you end up at Carnegie Hall with him when you couldn't have been more than 16 or
I
17
was
years old?
16.
Yeah.
16.
And it's,
Yeah,
you go from, I mean, taking lessons, all
I,
of a sudden you're in Carnegie Hall with Sonny Rollins.
I'm going to tell you, it's a kind of a spiritual lesson
Hmm.
that I didn't know I was learning, experiencing at the time, but it happened. So I was hell bent, wrong word to use with spiritual, but I was hell bent
Not
on
necessarily.
learning. Yeah, right. It depends on which way you go. Learning this music, and I wanted to be one of those guys on the right, because I was getting records, 1 or 2 records every
Hmm.
week.
Yeah.
I wanted to be one of the guys on it because I looked up to these guys. They really inspired me and gave me I aspired to just do it like them. And one day it hit me. I was in my room and it just something said, You're not going to be one of them because you're too young. They're adults and they're doing this already. They're 30
Hmm.
and you're just 30 or 40, you're
You
30, right? There you go.
50,
And
yeah.
you're 15, and it's not going to happen. You were born too late. And this was the thought that, and man, I got really sad for a minute. And then I thought, you know what? I don't care. I don't care what happens.
Hmm.
I don't care if I don't play with any of them. I want to get to the point where I'm good and I can play like them
Mm-hmm.
and be respected by whoever the musicians are. And that's all that matters to me. And that was what I said, and I'm just going to practice now. And not long after that, not a year even after
Mm-hmm.
that, things started happening. All of a sudden, I wind up, somebody takes me to sit in with Al Haig. And I knew
Wow.
who that was. I'm
Yeah.
like, he played with Bird.
Okay.
What's going on? But I didn't put it together like, oh, you said this, and now look what. It was just that was what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And Al Haig would call a sub if he couldn't do the gig. It was his regular 4 night a week
Mm-hmm.
steady on the Upper East Side.
Mm-hmm.
He would call Walter Bishop Jr. I see Walter
Wow.
Bishop Jr. walk in. I'm like, he played with Bird too. What's going on? And then next came Sonny Rollins. I don't know. And, I just learned this, but I had no clue how Sonny even knew who I was.
Hmm.
Like, how, and it wasn't, but for reading his his biography, it might
Mm-hmm.
as well have been an autobiography because it had every detail of his life, and it was 800 pages. So I get to this point where he's talking about being, reclusive and people not knowing where he was and how to get in touch with him, except a few people like his good friend Al Haig, and I lost it. I
Wow.
said, "Is that what it was?"
S-
Like Al was on the phone, like blew my mind.
mm-hmm.
So
Serendipity. It was meant to be.
I guess,
You said you
yeah.
got. Now I know my first.
And I'm still fighting the
Sorry.
good fight with that belief.
Um,
Yeah.
now I told you my first exposure to you was with Kenny Burrell, but you've
Mm-hmm.
also, and I was looking at your resume. You worked with, my God, Miles, Art Blakey, Stanley Turrentine,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. T. He was
Yeah.
tough, boy. That's a simply.
Oh, and he was one
Woo.
of my favorites to work with.
Mhm.
It was that sound, certain people have, well, they all have a sound, and his is so powerful and
Mhm.
distinctive
Oh
and
yeah.
with that swagger and that flair.
Mhm.
And Sugar was big when at that time, you know
Mhm.
what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Mhm.
And I'm listening to that, and George is on guitar,
Yeah.
and it's on CTI, the
Yep.
hippest label at the time. And I'm listening to that in my room, and whoa, and then next thing you know, there I am playing the melody with him. What? Yeah.
That's a,
Uh,
but that's really a
yeah.
beautiful thing, though. Miles,
It,
how did that come about? Not to keep, like, my God.
well, that was an interesting kind of occurrence because I was still in New York, and we used to play at this late night after hours really spot called 55 Grand Street.
Hmm.
And Mike Stern and Laney Stern lived above
Oh
it,
wow.
and it stayed open till 4 in the morning. And the musicians and service people would come in there, and it'd be a little bit of everybody in there. Marcus Miller and Hiram Bullock and
Wow.
Will Lee and Jocko and Steve Jordan, and everybody was
Wow.
in there. Breckers, well, the Breckers had a club not far from
They
there.
did.
Anyway,
Hmm.
so I'm in there one night, and Miles's road manager was sitting at the bar, and he said, I came off the stage, and he said, after whoever it was in the band at the time,
Hmm.
you're next up on guitar. And I'm like, get out of here. That's not going to happen. I don't even really play the style that Miles really wants. I was never uh, even a pseudo rock and roll player. Well,
Hmm.
maybe I had to be a pseudo one, but it wasn't something that I pursued. And so fast forward, I'd moved to Chicago, and half of Miles's band was from there.
Oh
The
wow.
pianist
Okay.
Robert Irving
I
III,
remember him.
the
Yeah.
bassist Daryl Jones,
Hmm.
right? They were all in the band, and they're friends of mine. So one night I'm doing a gig with my trio or something, and they're sitting out in the audience looking kind of glaring at me like the mob or
Oh
something.
no.
And so on the break, I went over to him. I said, "What's up?" Like something's up. Y'all are looking at me like they
Okay.
said, yeah, Miles wants you to send him a tape. So
Wow.
so I ran home and made this demo of my best imitation of rock and roll guitar with,
Mm-hmm.
over some funk. And he liked it and called, I still had my apartment in New York at the
Uh-huh.
time. So I just went home and,
When
and I did 5 gigs with him. And it wasn't the gig for me, but it sure was. I
Miles.
didn't put that on my I didn't put that on my resume for years.
Hmm.
And people said, man, what is wrong with you?
What?
You
Now,
kidding me? You
when
better put that, man.
when was this? What year? Can you
87,
87. So that would be around the time
1987.
John Schofield had left.
It was right. It was
Been right
after
around then.
Sco,
Schofield, yeah.
and after Robin Ford.
And before Foley, right?
Right
Before
before
Foley,
Foley.
okay.
Right before
Wow.
Foley. Exactly. Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep.
And also,
Right. And I watched Kenny Garrett come into the band.
oh, my
That was a
Detroit
trip.
brother. Do you know
That was a trip.
we went to the same junior high school
Oh,
and the same high
really?
school, but he
What?
was a year ahead of me. So he says, "Oh,
Oh,
maybe our
really?
paths have crossed." I wanted to say, "No, if I met you in junior high school, I would have remembered you." But yeah, isn't that wild? Yeah,
Really?
isn't that
Oh
wild? That is.
man, yeah. When I got in the band, Miles had Bob Berg and Gary Thomas, so I
Oh
knew
wow.
because
Okay.
I had seen him do that with Stern and Sco.
So, mm-hmm.
So I knew, Stern had been in the band for years. Sco was that now there. Stern's on his way out. That's how Miles
Mm.
would do.
Oh
So
wow.
he had Bob Berg on stage and Gary Thomas. So Bob Berg had been in the band for a while. So I was like, uh-oh. And then we did like 3 gigs. And then the next gig, Kenny Garrett was up there too. He had 3 saxophones.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like, really? Uh-oh. And the next gig after that,
It was Kenny.
everybody was gone
Oh
except
yeah,
Kenny.
Kenny. He's
Yeah,
amazing. He
yeah.
is just
Kenny did
incredible.
everything. He did all the things, as they say. Yeah,
He's still
yeah.
doing it. He's incredible.
Sure
Um,
is.
now
Love him.
you noted that
I played a tour with him as
when
in '97. I subbed for Matheny on the tour
oh wow,
when he was doing that
was it the it wasn't the train? Yeah, yeah, the
yes,
Coltrane record.
yeah,
Yeah, hmm,
Pursuance,
yeah.
right,
I
right,
remember
right.
that.
The music of John Coltrane. Yeah,
My favorite is one of my favorites is Black Hope, though. I love that record. Anyway,
yeah,
you also wanted to note that this year is the 25th anniversary of your first Bobby Broom trio release, Stand,
right,
from
right,
2001.
right. Yeah, hard to believe. I
Hmm.
remastered it and I'm putting it out, re-releasing it on vinyl
Oh wow.
because it was recorded. I can't really remember the process because it
Oh
was so
no.
long ago, but I know there was tape involved at a couple of stages.
Mhm.
I think that it went to tape and then went to digital and then back to tape. So
That's right.
it's got that quality that I think is going to translate really well. And I remastered it, and yeah, 25
You know, a
years.
lot of people are doing that actually now, going back to some of their previous works, and they aren't changing it so much as remastering it, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe like taking a couple of solos out, switching them off, or that kind of thing. But I've noticed
Yeah,
that
no,
people are doing
I
that.
left it all. I left it alone. Well, I couldn't leave. Well, yeah, duh. I couldn't leave it alone. I had to take some songs off because it was too long
Hmm.
because of LP, right?
That's right.
And so I took, I think, 3 songs off. But I like the flow. I like the way it turned out. So yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Sure. Um,
Yeah.
Now you're a tenured professor at Northern Illinois University. You said you're on sabbatical this semester.
Yeah, yeah.
You began teaching under. You have a charmed life. I'm telling you. You began teaching under the guidance of Jackie McLean.
I'm gonna say this. Yes, when I look back at the things that have happened, yes, I do. I have had a charmed life, really
Mm-hmm.
incredible to think of, like, how much I love this music and how much I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do it, and then the things that have happened. And it's also so difficult.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Just
but
to
you
let y'all know,
you make it
just to
look
let
easy
y'all
though.
know,
It's not
it's
easy.
not easy. It's so not easy. But I'm built for it, and you have to be. And the things that have happened have really, that's really been my ammunition and my fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Because once Al Haig says you can play, then what can anyone else just say? You just know you're on the right
Especially
path,
somebody
and you have to keep trying.
somebody's on the same bandstand as
Yeah,
her too.
Jackie called me one day, left a message on my answering machine tape
Wow.
out of the blue. I didn't know him. I had played with his son. We played together in
Renee.
Hugh Masekela's
Mm-hmm.
band, Renee
Yeah.
McLean. And but probably, I think the Harlem guys were looking out for me. I don't know for sure, but Sonny and Jackie and Walter Bishop, and they talked. And so Jackie called me and said, "Man, I got some money for you. I want you to come up to Hart." Yeah, I remember it like
I
it
got
was
some
yesterday.
money for you.
I got some money for you. I
Be on
want
the
you to come
first
up to
thing
Hart and
smoking.
do these master class, do some master classes, and
Mm,
blah blah blah. I had to go. First of all, I rewound the cassette like 5 times.
yeah.
This is Jackie McLean.
Clean, I know.
Couldn't believe it.
I hope
So
you
I called
kept
him
it.
back
I
and I
hope you
had to
kept
ask
it.
him.
I hope you kept that.
No, no, no. I had to ask him what a master class was because I didn't know.
Oh
I was
wow.
22. I hadn't finished my undergrad
Hmm.
degree. I'd never taught.
Wow.
And he brought me in and he said, just share your experience. And, these kids are doing what you wanted, what you're doing.
Hmm.
These kids want to do what you're doing. So just share with them. And that's kind of still my philosophy to this day. And that second year, he pulled me aside and he said, "I want you to run the guitar program here at University of Hartford."
Wow.
And I said, "Jackie, I can't do that." And he said, "Yes, you can.
Man.
I'll help you." And I turned him down because I did not feel equipped. I was not equipped.
Okay.
And now he may very well have helped me become equipped, but I just wasn't ready.
Mm.
So I'm sure he'd be proud that I got tenure and I'm doing it. And I took my time, but
There's nothing wrong
it's
with that.
cool.
Nothing wrong
All
with that
things
at
in
all.
time. The thing about keeping stuff, I became keenly aware of that when I went to this was a few years ago. I was had gone back to 135th and Lenox for the first time in years.
Hmm.
I'd been saying I wanted to go back and see my old building and all of that. So I had some time off and I went. And across the street is the Schomburg
Oh yes.
Center
Yes.
for African American
Yeah.
Cultural.
Yes indeed.
uh, yeah, so I know Sonny's archive is in there.
Hmm.
He donated that to them in recent years. They acquired that, so I went. I went to see it,
Hmm.
and I had an hour. I had to get the library card, go through the
Wow.
process, but I pulled two boxes. One, from the years that I
Wow.
began working with him,
Uh-huh.
and uh, just was going through them. He saved everything. Notes on legal pads. That was
Wow.
how he saved his to-do lists, on legal pads. But he saved everything. Not like
Hmm.
you throw that stuff away. Go get socks from Saks Fifth Avenue. Call about the furnace. Like those kinds of notes.
Hmm.
He had all of that in those boxes. He saved up. Then, so I'm going through all this stuff. Saxophone fingerings. Play this on the bridge and blah blah blah. Call Bob Broom from 1977.
That's awesome. Wait,
I took a picture.
1977. That's right. That's right. Just and
I
oh
took a,
wow.
it blew my mind. Like, what? So I took a picture of it, and I found both of those periods where, because then I didn't play with him for a few years, and then he called me again in '81, and I found that note as well.
Hmm.
So, yeah,
Wow.
you know, if people want to find things on me, they're gonna have to go through my hard drive.
That's a beautiful thing,
Digitizing
though.
tapes,
But I
I
mean,
don't
that's
know.
that's incredible. You know,
It
clearly,
really,
jazz education is very important to you. It is so important in terms of passing that down. And
yes.
but I always think, what, if any, have your students? What kind of influence have they had on you? Because I know I can imagine the kind of influence you have on your students. But what did they give you, or what how have they influenced you?
They inspire me. They keep me on my toes. They keep me honest to, as much as I can. I mean, I have to be able to demonstrate and, I get so much joy out of because I teach not only guitar students, but I teach an improv class, a jazz improvisation class. I teach a music business class.
Wow, that's important.
That's interesting. I mean, I never imagined doing anything like that, but I mean, again, I've been through so many things that it's not
Hmm.
out of my wheelhouse. And I recently started teaching an African American popular music
Hmm.
class. So I've taught jazz history in the
Hmm.
past, but there was a need at the university
Hmm.
for something that was Afrocentric and
Hmm.
but dealing with popular music all the way through. And boy, does it go all, the strain exists, and it's been so much. I just taught it last year for the first time,
Hmm.
and it was so interesting, so and just exciting for me to connect the dots. And I'm
Hmm.
still learning, and I'm going to be learning, but to just become aware of so much more because I'm having to study in order to. I want to. I'm not getting it from a book.
Mm-mm.
I don't like getting my, yeah, it's cool to read some books, but I want to understand it in a way that makes sense to me and musically, like in ways that I can hear and then transfer,
Hmm.
hopefully, to students and with examples of musical examples of in sound, so it's just been so you see how it is. I get excited
Hmm.
when I teach the improv class. I get more excited sometimes than the students, at least in the beginning, until they bought in, and then they're with me.
That is a
um
that's a beautiful thing. Who's in your
yeah.
band on Sunday at Dazzle?
That's gonna be the trio. Dennis Carroll and Kobe Watkins. I'm
All
so
right.
happy about that. Yeah. So, you know, uh as much as we've recorded and been out here, we need to be heard as much as possible. You know, the last time I played, well, no, not the last time because you know about that, but
Hmm.
maybe the time before that, which was a long time ago,
Hmm.
maybe before COVID, obviously, but somewhere in the teens, 15, 16, 17, something like that, was with them.
Okay.
And maybe it was, I don't remember the record, but we had a really good house that night. So people know who we are, and hopefully they'll remember us and come on out and support
Absolutely.
us. And we'll play some things from Stand and some of the other records, and maybe a little bit from the new record. I was so hoping to have Stand the vinyl copies ready, but
Oh.
as fate
Oh
would have
well.
it, That's all right. You can order it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Again,
Thank you.
you really lifted my spirits today. I need you know it's funny when you need like that kind of inspiration or something like that, and it just comes.
You never
To
know
you well I
where from
clearly,
where.
but I remember the last time that I interviewed you when you did the tribute to Russell. That was just beautiful.
It was so.
Yeah. And I remember feeling you all talked about how much he meant to you, and I said, his not again, not to get too spiritual, but I said, his spirit is here. He hears us. He hears you.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you again.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely.